Where's the remote?
Happy Sunday. It's a lovely Sunday, and welcome to another Sit on the Couch with Dr. Triffy. I have welcomed a pretty girl to talk politics with me tonight. Part two, Marcelline Edwards. Welcome, Marcelline.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, y'all, last week we started a conversation because I wanted to utilize this platform to encourage more women to talk about politics because politics is our life. Politics is how policies are made to run our day to day. Politics is the price of gas. Politics is, do I have health insurance? However, politics often feels hostile and punishing and combative, especially towards women. There's a lot of public scrutiny with politics, character attacks. I mean, people will threaten your safety even. However, that being said, I think that it is worth getting into the game and staying plugged in because we have to take responsibility for the outcomes that we're creating. Today, I'm starting with a picture of two handsome, beautiful young men on the screen. And I have pain in my heart about that. I have pain on behalf of my community in Dominica. I'm Dr. Triffy, by the way, in case you didn't know. Dr. Triffy, I'm a psychologist in Georgia, but I'm originally from Dominica in the Caribbean, not Dominican Republic, Dominica, the island. And I come from a tiny village in the north of the island that's grieving today the loss of these two beautiful young men whose lives were taken far too soon in a shooting incident. And so, to their families, to our friends, and to everyone who loved them, please accept my deepest condolences because no words can soften this kind of pain. And you've got to live it. Unless you've been through it, you don't understand it. But moments like this have got to force us to pause and reckon and sit with the cost of violence. So, Marceline, you're from a different part of Dominica, and I know you heard about this. What are your thoughts on this today?
Good evening, Margaret. Everyone listening, thank you for joining us this evening, particularly in a time when there is so much grief on the island. There are so many issues, surmounting issues, I must say. And when we look at it, it would appear that we are falling apart. Nonetheless, I am glad to be here to open discussions and hoping that we can chat away through positive interventions to save our youth and our country. And Margaret, you asked me what I think about that.
Mhm.
And, it is heartbreaking, Margaret. And before going into the meat of what I think, I would first like to extend my sympathy, my condolences to you, Margaret, because this is directly coming, from your community. These are people you know the children, you know the parents, and as you said earlier, it takes a community to raise a child. So when our children are being gunned down, look at them. Two young people in their 30s are being gunned down. Then this is not just a loss for the parents, but it's a loss for the entire community and by extension the country. Those are our future leaders. Those are, you know, our future dads, or probably they have children.
Mhm.
So it's not easy when a parent has to bury their child. And think about it. You lose a loved one, you know who is old and probably sick, and you think, it's the best thing, you lose someone like that, and it grieves you so much to the
Mm-hmm.
point that you really can't get over. And to see that a young man or young man or a young man just being taken out just like that, without any last words, without any notice, then this is totally unacceptable. And it cannot mean well for society, because we are living in a society where there is a lot of hurt people in the society. And you know what happens when hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
So it is hard. And we can make all excuses that we want to make, but at the end of the day, we have to be real. We have to be realistic on the issue. We have to start asking ourselves a few questions. What if it were my child?
Mm-hmm.
What if this becomes my reality tomorrow? Would I feel the same way I feel? Because, clearly it's not my child, or we are unrelated, or what have you. Would we be saying some of the things we are saying? It's not drugs now all the young people want to do. Oh, it's lazy, they're lazy. Would we be saying that? We would be
Mm-hmm.
making all sorts of excuses for
Yeah.
our children.
Right.
But then when you look at what the young people are stacked up against, then it is hard to say that they are just lazy and they will not work, because we have to take accountability here.
Well, how would you describe the emotional state of young people in Dominica right now, particularly your young men, from what you yourself have
Emotional
to
state
see?
of our young men in
Yeah.
Dominica,
Yeah.
it is overwhelming. These people, they have no hope, they have no future, and it has been too long in that situation. They see no end result. And one of the things that they will tell you when you get an opportunity to talk to them is about the joblessness, and they have no money, and they see no way out. They see no way out of this. And when you listen to these young people, you can hear the pain. You can literally hear them crying. It's just that you're not seeing the tears, but you could hear it in your voice. When a
Mm-hmm.
young men meet you and say, Mom, I would like to talk to you. I would like to talk to you. And you listen to them. You just pay them a listening ear and let what they're telling you sink in. And if all of them have that same problem, it's not about the youth, it's not about their laziness, it's not about that. The young people are living in a hopeless state. They have no income creating jobs in Dominica to employ our young people. Our young people are just waiting for any opportunity.
So it's
Any
like they're left
opportunity.
so it's like many of them are left to their own devices, and the
Yes.
structures that are supposed to create employment for them, create training to get them ready for employment, a lot of that seems to be lacking.
Yes, and there is no skill set. There's no skills training program. And how can you say they are lazy if they are not trained? And when you look at the jobs that are available, you have a lot of construction work going on in Dominica, but how many of the young men are employed? How many of them are making their money? I mean, construction work has a lot of money in it. If you
And it
train
used
a
to be
young
that our
man,
young men used to like that's what like scores of men did masonry, scores of young men did carpentry. And I don't know that we're seeing that anymore.
we are not seeing it. And when you don't employ the young people, or they are not trained, they have no skill set, then of course they appear to be lazy. But if we have a skill training program and we train our men,
Mm-hmm.
most of them will get work to do. But you don't approve 28 grams of cannabis for them to smoke indiscriminately and don't create any form of employment opportunities for them. And you expect that they are going to do otherwise.
Do you think
20,
that was a mistake? Do you think that
it
was a mistake to
definitely
authorize?
was a mistake. It was a mistake. And as a psychologist, we can think cannabis is the next thing to, we can think cannabis is the next thing to Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But I was watching a documentary recently, and it was, literally showing what cannabis can do, the use of cannabis can do to the brain
Mm-hmm.
under 25 years when the brain is not developed, because we know the brain is developed at 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that it stated, it was the depression that cannabis, the use of cannabis on those young brains, those young minds, this is what it is. And then you have a lot of young people who are suffering from depression, suffering from all forms of anxieties.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a lot of mental illness in Dominica too. The other day I
Untreated.
was listening to, yeah,
Untreated.
I was listening to the president, Sylvanie Green, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things she spoke about was mental illness in our young people,
Mm-hmm.
and she spoke about some 800 persons on island who are suffering from a mental illness, and
Wow.
some of which had either received medical care at the hospital, the APU unit.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ask, what is destroying the minds of our young people? So
Mm-hmm.
with the cannabis and the stress of life, not being able to provide for themselves, they see their whole future slipping away. Then of course it is just too much. They can't build a home. They can't create any form of wealth, because they have no income. They're not generating any income, and then yet they are still unemployed, regardless of all the work we see going on in Dominica.
On the cannabis question, I I I I do have mixed thoughts because there's a lot of value in the plant. There's a lot of value in the cannabis plant. I don't know yet that in Dominica that we're using it well to its highest potential. When it comes to smoking, you said they've been allowed a certain amount to be able to have on their person. There's about 10% of people who do have some very adverse reactions to cannabis. For the most part, people seem to be able to use it without issues, but there are some people who will have negative responses to it. I think the biggest issue is that there is not enough balance. So, I mean, even if what a person was doing was smoking cigarettes all day, you're smoking a pack of cigarettes all day, and you had no work, this is out of balance. It's out of balance. So I think that's some of what I'm hearing you say.
Well, yes, but I agree too. But look, when you look at the other side of it, you know, cannabis in other countries, they have legalized cannabis in other countries, but it's for medicinal purposes. People are making money out of it.
Hmm.
But then, why not turn it into some form of industry where our young people can make money out of it and not just sit all day long and smoke it?
But I saw, wasn't there like some big conference recently in Dominica about using the plant?
Well, we are late, sweet darling. We are late because other countries have moved on,
We
a
are
long
so
time
late.
ago.
Yeah.
Other countries are making their money.
Yeah.
a long time ago, and we are still on a conference.
In planning stages. Yeah.
We're still in the embryotic stage.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't we are not sure if we're going to ever get out from the embryotic stage.
And if you think about it, a lot of our young men with their knowledge of the plant, because this is what's happening, right? They have knowledge of the plant, they grow the plant, but have they been pulled in to these conversations? Will they be able to utilize the
Exactly.
markets that will open up legally for them to be able to grow the plant and do what they got to do with the plant? I'm not sure that we are. Uh, I'm not seeing much focus on that. We know they're going to keep smoking their weed. We know they're going to keep smoking their herb. That's not going to change. But how can they also benefit? How can they
Well,
also benefit
they should not only approve it for them to smoke only. They should approve it for them to make monies as
for
well.
them to make money as well?
They
And
should
that,
approve it for them to
see,
make money as well.
yes, yes,
Because look at we have fertile soil in Dominica,
yes, yes,
and
yes,
we could create a whole industry out of it, and it will not only make money for the young men, or create income for the young men, but it would also bring serious revenue into our treasury as well.
for sure, for sure.
So all along, people would benefit. Maybe Jolly's would be doing some experiment with it right now, making something at Jolly's pharmacy.
Oils,
The
right?
oils,
Medicines.
whatever they make, they can make with it,
Hmm.
because from what I heard, the cannabis oil is good for
For many,
seizures as well, and
yes,
it's good for a lot of things. Even the cannabis tea, when you draw it, they said it's good. It is good for nausea, from chemotherapy and so on. So
exactly.
even with finding the right methods and the right end results for that cannabis, it would not be just indiscriminately used among our young people. And
You
mind
mentioned,
you, I am not saying
go
to,
ahead.
that, you know, because each to their own, each man
Hmm.
to their own order. But at the end of the day, a government has to be more responsible,
Hmm.
particularly when you have not put anything else in place. This is what you
Responsible
given,
and proactive. They have to
and
think
proactive.
ahead.
They should be visionary as well.
Yes,
You cannot be like that.
yes, yes. You mentioned cannabis tea. I was maybe about 8 years old. I wasn't 10 years old yet. And I used to have upper respiratory problems a lot as a kid. I would get wet in the rain, and sometimes I'd be knocked out with a fever for days. So, my parents tried many, many, many things. It wasn't until they tried the tea, the cannabis tea, that thing went away. So I know for sure for me that there's value in the plant, and it's not going to go away. Our young men are going to use it. With all of this money talk surrounding cannabis and the lack of other opportunities, I really believe they need to be pulling in our young men to use the plant in a positive, adaptive way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we really missed out on a big aspect of that, eh? And we are just always last in everything. When they told us we were last in everything, believe them, we were last in everything. We are still last in everything, because the very same people who made us last, they are still there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Well, when it comes to our young men, as a woman, as a mom, what are some solutions you think about?
as a mother, and as I'm looking at from a maternal point of view,
Hmm.
I still believe that there is still hope.
Hmm.
And sometimes we have to help our children.
Hmm.
And every parent will not be able to help their child, because especially if the parent is struggling, then if you're a struggling parent, how are you going to help a struggling child? So that in
Right.
itself is a hard one. But parents should always show their children love. Embrace your children. Don't give up on your children. And I like the question you asked me, because when I was in Dominica for the Creole Festival, and I
Mm-hmm.
went to Creole in the Park, went to one of the bars to get myself a drink, and
Mm-hmm.
there were a group of about 7 young men who came, to the bar. So because I had ordered my drink already, I kind of stepped aside for them to place their order, because I was just waiting for my drink. And there
Mm-hmm.
was the main one who was paying for the drink. He had an injury, so he had an injury on his hand, because it was, so I'm
My
trying to make
God.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
it was banded up. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to make conversation and say, what's wrong? What's wrong with your hand? You had an accident. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
see. And he looked at me like he was studying me before he answered.
Mm.
And he says, yeah, it's a long. I said, "Well, so what's wrong? What happened?" He said, it's a long story.
Mm.
But his face was so his stare was so cold that I kind of panicked a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And um and then he said, and then I just continued. I said, well, you'll have to take care of yourselves. We know that, it's a lot that is stacked up against you all. And but you still have to try to, take care of yourselves, because
Mm-hmm.
there's more to life than just, getting in trouble, and dying too young, dying too soon,
Right.
because a lot of the rip doesn't cut it. And
Mm-hmm.
so the more you stay out of trouble and you try to do positive things with yourself, then it's like the
Better
better for
chance you give
you. And
yourself.
yes, and I said, and make no mistake, if you have once you have life, you have hope. But if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have life, then there's nothing to hope for,
That's done.
because you don't have life. And he was just, I said, wow, I couldn't believe that a person could have such a cold, dark stare. And
Mm-hmm.
then when he did speak, he said, I'm watching you there, and all I feeling to do, is cry. You're
Mm.
making me want to cry. I'm feeling to cry. A grown big guy, 20 something
Mm.
years. And he's among all his friends. Here it is. He has this injury. He's making money and what have you. And you know
You
what he said to
why?
you? He said to you, you don't know what I feel in, You don't know what I feel in, You know what it feels like when your own mother don't like you?
Mm.
That is what he said to me. And you could see that he was in the park.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of things, a lot of noise. It's among his friends, but he has this deep pain in him, that you can see it's eating him. And
Mm-hmm.
you know and that was what the guy told me. And I'm just like, wow. And then he said, you make me so emotional. So a lot of times you just have to talk to our young people, talk
Mm-hmm.
to our
They're
children,
going through more, especially our young men these days. I
support
think they're
them.
going through a lot more than they're telling us, than we
Yes.
know. And I wish we choose leaders who, as you said, are visionary, who can think forward and plan for the reality of mental health, emotional healing, medical facilities that can take care of our people in a more efficient manner. Because this is one area that is not being really handled when it comes to mental health mental health support, uh, even the medical system. We could go down a rabbit hole on that, but we are not, just because we don't have time tonight. What I do want to go to is the fact that you're wearing blue. I'm gonna the fact that you're wearing blue. And there's a gentleman from Dominica that I like a lot. And I'm going to see if I can connect to a little video that he made. I'm going to see if I can connect to a little video that he made that I wanted to share. Okay, wait a while. The Dominican people, there's a gentleman for me that I consider a prophet. Yeah. You know, prophets don't have to look like Moses. I listen to him a lot because he speaks for me a lot of words of wisdom. His name is Timal. And Timal made a video. Last week I was going to play it. And Timal is talking about the political system in Dominica. And essentially, Timal is saying that we seem to have been locked. Today, there seems to be a little bit of a break, and we'll talk more about that. We seem to have been locked in a political sort of quagmire in Dominica between a ruling party that has become very repressive on the people. It's hard for people to talk without fearing repercussions. We were just talking about our young men wanting work, but we have big projects like an airport being built, and they should be on the project, but foreigners are littered throughout that project, and they're being given reasons such as they don't qualify, they don't have training. Mind you, nobody gave them the training to qualify them for these projects when they started. But then also, I see you wearing blue, and on the other side of that party that's ruling is one of the largest right now opposition parties. Their color is blue and yellow and white. And are you a member? I'm talking about the United Workers' Party. Are you a member of the United Workers' Party? Like a card
No,
carrying
no,
member?
I'm not a member of the United Workers' Party.
Are
I'm
you a
not a
supporter?
member, and I'm not on the executive of the Workers' Party.
Are you a
But
supporter?
this color
Uh-huh.
I consider to be just like a color.
Mm,
And I don't think I wear collars. And
mm. What do you mean when you say that?
even if I try to wear collars, I don't wear collars very well,
Mm,
because I'm a person. I express my myself, my opinions. I say
uh-huh,
things from the standpoint of what I want to say, and I always want to be able to speak my mind. And I'm not a person who likes to conform, or
mhm,
people or say what people want me to say.
mhm.
I analyze things for myself, and based on what the result of my analysis is, then I go with my gut
You make
feeling.
your decisions.
Yes, I make my decision, and I
Well,
have always
Timal,
done that. Mhm.
Timal has a video that he calls Rotten Apples. And I want you to listen to it and see if you can make some sense out of it for me.
Rotten apples.
Yes.
Rotten apple in a bag, huh? No, they say one bad apple spoil the bunch. One bad apple spoil the bunch. But not even one, two it, man. Two it. One in power and one want to come in power. The one that want to come in power so rotten, so bad, huh? You come and with the bag open. But look now, you want to tie the bag away so nobody else. You check with him, my boy? Not even one rotten apple, two. You check with him, man? So now, you know the crucial thing about rotten apple in a bag, Timal? The crucial thing about rotten apple in a bag, huh? Timal, is the longer you leave the rotten apple in the bag, is the more apples it's going to rotten. That is the crucial thing about a rotten apple in a bag. You check me, Timal, boy? The longer you leave the rotten apple in the bag, is the more apples it's going to rotten. The more good apples it's going to rotten. You hear me, Timal? So now the real opposition outside the bag watching, Timal. The real opposition, we outside the bag and we watching.
So Timal is talking about the political quagmire that Dominicans seem to find themselves in. And he was responding to what appeared to be infighting among members of high ranking members of the United Workers' Party, which is the largest for now opposition group in Dominica. This is Timal's position. What is yours about that? Because we saw it displayed on social media. You know, high-ranking members of the party seeming to be going at each other. I don't know if it's before today. Today, the organization held a delegates conference and they chose their leader. I don't know if it was because it was leading up to that or if that's something that seems to be happening more so than is typical, like throughout the year. So, what are your thoughts on that? Timal gave his thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
Ah, well, what I would say on that is democracy has spoken today.
Mm,
And we heard a lot about the Constitution, a lot about democracy. And hopefully we will abide by the results that the democratic process have brought through.
mm-hmm,
And it is one thing to be openly fighting like that, but the other thing is when you have to understand that when you do things like that, there are repercussions. And hopefully they all can come together because the delegates conference met today. They had a delegates conference today. They
mm-hmm,
elected a leader. They re-elected the incumbent. He's the leader again. This is the third time around, and I hope everybody is willing to work with the new leader, and I hope he takes the opportunity and lead, because that is what you call a leader. Take the opportunity and lead. And
mm.
I would
You
like to
mentioned repercussions. You mentioned possible repercussions. You mentioned possible repercussions to that kind of to that style, I guess, of
you mean the
democracy because,
divisiveness?
right, right, the back and forth. Yes.
Well, there are repercussions because a lot of people, it really turned them, it really puts a bad taste. It really turned people away because there are people who are on the fence and they're looking at that kind of thing, and you're wondering, but what kind of thing is this?
Mm-hmm.
Right about this time, I hope all of that can be put to rest. We now have a leader. I hope all opposition, the Freedom Party, the independent candidates, those who are looking for a new way, a new way out of this mess that's we
Mm-hmm.
are in Dominica. I hope everyone can coalesce behind the leader and put all differences aside and work together, because this is the only way we're going to move forward. We cannot move anywhere with divisiveness.
Mm,
We always learn that a house divided by itself cannot stand, and this house is not going to stand if we continue with that divisive approach. It is not going to work. And people are looking for a new way forward. The more you fight is the longer it takes you to bring your vision forward, because when you
mm-hmm.
constantly fight like that, and you tear down each other, and you sabotage, and you just behave like you don't care, then you cannot tell anybody that you're doing it for country, or you're doing it for people. It does not appear that way. So let us put country first. Let us put the needs of the people first, because there are a lot of issues in Dominica that
For example, for
need
example,
addressing right now.
for
You have
example.
you have the mining issue, you have the murdering of our young people, you have the indiscriminate use of drugs, you have the indiscriminate use of the firearms, because where you have drugs, you have guns,
Mm-hmm.
and where you have guns, you have monetary crimes. You
Mm-hmm.
have everything comes into the picture. Look, we saw over the weekend that the feds picked up uh, a young man who was, you know, who had this gun trade
Mm-hmm.
into Dominica, illegal guns.
Yes.
And when you look at that, how was he being able to export the guns into Dominica to our customs in Dominica? Then we are focusing on the man that the feds picked up here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the customs in Dominica?
Mm-hmm.
Because the man they picked up on the street here
In Miami here.
in Miami, the person who is working, or the persons who is working in the customs, the networking that passes, he has in place to get those guns through. They're just like the man they picked up in Miami. And I hope the police in Dominica will do a shakedown with the customs and pick out the bad apples, the rotten apples, like
Mm-hmm.
Tim, I'll just give
Demand.
you an example of the rotten apples. I
Mm-hmm.
hope they pick up the rotten apples within the customs in Dominica,
Mm-hmm.
because this man alone could not get it could not get it done. You
It
need two
cannot get
hands
it
to clap.
for
It could
sure.
not get it done.
For
And
sure.
some I was reading from Dominica News Online,
Mm-hmm.
where was it 2 years ago they had arrested this very same guy
Yes,
in
yes.
Dominica
2021, I think.
in
2021 or
21.
2023, one of them.
But how
Yes.
did that happen? If he was arrested in Dominica for illegal firearms,
Mm-hmm.
how is it that he evaded the justice system in Dominica to the point
Mm-hmm.
that he did not even take a year or two imprisonment in
Exactly.
Dominica, and then
Exactly.
he's back in the US doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like they were not being able to do their job in Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
So now that he is in the feds picked him up, then when the feds closing on a case, you're going away for more than 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
we had the RSS in Dominica recently, where they got all this amount of
Weapons.
drugs, cocaine. How do you bring in all that amount of cocaine into a country, and
Right.
nobody see, and nobody knows, nobody heard? So we have to ask those questions, because when we see our young men being killed in Dominica, like every other week you have a gun murder in Dominica.
Isn't that incredible? Like, doesn't that just blow your mind?
It does. They killed a guy recently before this guy. I think it was the guy when the police, they said it was the police who showed up, and I don't know if they were real police,
Mm-hmm.
or if they would just present themselves as police, and they shot the guy in his home in I think it's in Fly City.
Okay, I didn't hear about that one. The last one I
Yeah,
heard about was a young man in Wesley who got
they had one in Fly City. It's Fly
wow.
City. It's
Mhm.
It's not Fly City. Oh gosh, not Fly City. It's a place up until Baffin State up there.
Okay, okay,
Silver
okay.
Lake.
Mm-hmm.
You know that very guy I'm looking at? I saw that guy in Creole in the park when I was in Dominica, you know.
Wow.
I made him out by the chains. When I look at the chains, those,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he was wearing those same chains. And I looked at those chains and I said, wow, you know, where these guys getting, it's like a cow's chain. And I looked at it, and so then you want to on you is it the same guns that are killing the people? Where are all of those guns coming in? We had
There
the
is a
RSS
pipeline.
recently.
There is a pipeline, and it's when we talk about, well, what are the solutions for this? To say, well, if if you see it, say something. That's good, but I wonder how much a regular little citizen can do versus the customs, versus the police, versus immigration. These state structures, are they doing enough to intercept these weapons? How are they getting into the country? Who is involved? And do we have the fortitude? Do we have the fortitude? Do we have the wanting? Do we have the willingness to really stop this from exploding even further?
Of course, we do. And because we have the manpower. I think every department knows the bad apples, the bad players. Dominica is a small country.
Very small.
For them not to know who the players are. And then what about the surveillance cameras? If you are really interested in solving crimes, you
Mhm.
would have placed surveillance cameras in those very institutions. Place the work cameras at the port where those things come in. So then you would be able to monitor those cameras, not just in the prisons, like the other day
No.
when Mr. Blackmore spoke about putting cameras in the prisons. What about in the ports?
Mhm.
What about in the police cells where they
Mhm.
beat and kill innocent people? And I
Right.
say innocent because when you commit an extrajudicial murder, then you kill an innocent man because the law says the man is innocent until proven
Until
guilty.
proven guilty. Yes.
So you may think that he stole, but until he goes to the court and the court brings him guilty, you cannot execute the man because you feel that he committed a crime.
Right.
The other day it is alleged that there was an extrajudicial murder in the cell in Portsmouth.
Oh,
The
really?
young man was buried this morning. A young guy from my community. How can you pick up someone on the street because they're being, a public
Disturbing the
nuisance,
peace. Right, right, right. And then they end up dead.
and then they end up dead? We have to address those things. It's not only the murderers on the streets shooting people with guns who are the murderers. We
Mhm.
have murderers with guns and badges in
You
Dominica
know,
and a uniform.
Dr. Thompson Fontaine, who just won the nomination for the United Workers' Party, he shared a video this past week of his experience in the cell being arrested for, he wasn't even, was he charged? I don't think he was even charged for the crime yet. He was arrested and kept in a jail cell for 3 days, 3 nights. Stench. He said what he got was white bread and sweet, 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 sweet Kool-Aid for 3 days. Just, this is another area that we need to look into when it comes to how we're caring for our citizens.
Yeah. And was all of that necessary? or
Mm-hmm.
was it out of political malice?
Mm-hmm.
And that when we have leaders and people in top positions giving orders like that, then you understand where our country is, why our country is in the state in which it is. Because we are no longer leading, we have become all sorts of things except good leaders.
Well, I think also respect for the Constitution and the rights of the citizen. Yeah, perhaps a lot of that has been watered down over the years.
Notwithstanding the fact that the Constitution begins with the word, the Constitution begins with the words, "We the people."
Mm.
That was how the Constitution was drafted. It was drafted on the inalienable rights of we the people. The
Mm-hmm.
people have rights,
Mm-hmm.
innate rights. So when you take a man as as Dr. Fountain, and you put him, and you know any man, and
Any
you
citizen.
diminish him in that condition,
Mm-hmm.
to
You
that
attempt to,
condition,
anyway. You attempt to.
well, to them,
Mm-hmm.
to them they are diminishing him, because
Mm-hmm.
putting him to sleep in a stenchy scent with rats and cockroaches, and,
Mm-hmm.
and treating him like a criminal.
As a
Some of
criminal.
the very police officers are criminals.
Mm.
Within the police force in Dominica, they are criminals, and they should not be in that force. They are just ticking time bombs. Those are the very same people who are engaged in all sorts of extrajudicial murders and all sorts of extraterritorial kidnappings.
Mm.
And then there's nothing for that. Because from what I can see, it's criminals protecting criminals. They are all bitten. They are all bitten. When a vampire
Bitten? What do
bites
you
you,
mean, bitten? Oh,
you
mm.
watch those vampire
Yes,
movies.
yes, yes.
When the vampire bites you, then you become a vampire.
Look, Marvin said he lived in Dominica. He lived 25 years in Dominica before moving to the US. And with the exception of 1979, which is when we had a major crisis in the country, he probably only heard of one gun death. One. This is
Yes,
very shocking. Very, very shocking. And it's been escalating all of these gun related
it is.
situations.
But again, the police are not working. They are not working. They think the oath they have is to protect and to take orders from the politicians who want to remain on the backs as dictators, on the backs of Dominicans as dictators. They're not working for the people that they took that oath to protect. And that is what you get. Look, the other day, you had two business entrepreneurs who were executed. That was a terroristic act against these two entrepreneurs, the,
Right.
the owners of is
Delivery rich.
Colby Ridge. They
Hmm.
were executed. Why were they executed? At what
Yeah.
the police did failed to do. So the police in Dominica have failed the citizens.
Yeah.
And when I was in Dominica once, and I saw the police with nothing to do, tearing down the placards of a few women who were standing, defenseless women. They were not even armed, and they're in camouflage, tearing down the placards, and on why are you doing that? Simultaneously, two people were being murdered in
Right.
Grand Coulee Ridge,
Hmm.
and those little nincompoops are walking around with machine guns in the middle of Roseau. They have no work to do. If they were really doing police work, a lot of those murders could have been prevented,
Could have been
but they
prevented.
have no work to do.
Well, from a woman's perspective, what do you feel? What do you think is the most urgent uh, area in Dominica that needs to change from a woman's perspective? What do you
Everything is
feel?
urgent in Dominica.
Feels like the
Every
house is on fire.
damn thing is urgent in Dominica. You have our children who are being abused.
Hmm.
You have our women who are being abused.
Hmm.
Families are being abused. You have murders on the increase. You have the youth with no jobs. You have, one mentally ill prime minister tearing down the whole country. And
You
you,
think
you have
so?
all the ministers receiving a salary for not working for their constituents, not working for the country. So how is it
Why
that
do
we
you
don't we
think
have a, we have a
you just
crisis
said
in Dominica?
you just said something explosive there? I mean, why would you say why do you think there's mental illness there?
Why I think it's mental illness?
Hmm.
It takes a mentally ill man to bring in foreigners to decolor your whole country.
Mm.
Every river I know in Dominica has something, some excavation thing planted, some
Mm.
equipment in it. There's an equipment in Londonderry River, some big machines that, some big uh, canisters, or how you call it, cement thing that is in the river in Londonderry. In the river at Hatton Garden, there's something by the river. In Concord, they wash up, they're destroying the river.
Mhm.
Layu River, they give it to whoever to destroy it. Every river I know, every river I know, look, they're building a geothermal plant way up in where everywhere, these people, everywhere that meant something to us. These people are destroying it. Look at the Cabrits in Portsmouth. Look at where they put the Kempinski hotel. Everywhere that is sentimental to Dominica, every forest reserve, these people have been building hotels there. Just is only mentally ill people that don't see the value of anything sentimental. Anything that
Do you think women's leadership voices are being fully respected in decision making in the country? Do you think they're listening to the women? Do you think they're listening to your voice, to the women's voices?
only when women stand up and they really put their voices together, and more women need to stand up. I believe if a lot more women would really talking up, I think they would listen more. A lot more women need to join the discussion.
Hmm.
Join the discussion. It doesn't matter what they say, join that discussion and start speaking up, because women, when with the voices of women, it adds to the discussion, to the
It
discourse.
does.
It creates a balance.
Hmm.
Come in, talk, because the men will only see it from the egoistic point of view, from the macho point
Hmm.
of view, but we see things differently.
Like
we are
what?
we are
Like what?
we see it from the nurturing aspect, from the emotional aspect, from the caring aspect. We see things from a different angle, and
Hmm.
we see it from the home, being able to be. My mother had always had a word saying, being able to cut and contrive. You heard that term, cut and contrive.
What did
You
she
know,
mean by that?
well, what in the it means that I'm looking for the word that which is not coming. But when you say cut and contrive, it means that the way conserve.
Mm.
Women can, you know that you have a 3 yards of cloth. You're
Hmm.
not going to try to make a whole sheet, and king size sheet, and 4 pillowcases out of
Right,
3
right,
yards of
right,
cloth.
right, right,
You
right.
know, all you can get out of 3 yards of cloth
Yeah.
is a small tablecloth.
You know what my mom used to say it in Creole. She used to say, Zoni pou apwan kuma pou fe economy. So you
Yes,
have to learn to make do, make the best out of what you have, right? So you're not
yes,
overspending. You always
yes.
have a little bit extra left. And you're not just bulldozing through. You have to weigh the situation before you come to your final decision.
Definitely. But Margaret,
Mm-hmm.
I am sure that if we had a woman prime minister in Dominica,
Mm-hmm.
the country would not have been so chaotic.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I agree
There
with
would
you
not be, there
100%.
would be that level of crime, that crime rate we have in Dominica,
Hmm.
it would not have been.
Hmm.
It would not have been.
I agree with you. There'd have been more balance.
It,
We're completely off balance right now. We're really out
yeah,
of balance right now. Yeah, we're very
it
out
would
of
not have been.
balance. It does not seem, at least it does not seem, based on evidence, that even the views of the people are being considered. And I think even when the people appear to be in obvious pain, there's more pressure put on them. So there doesn't seem to be enough attempts to balance people out, you know? So a lot of the people stay in a state of anxiety and then more pressure is added.
Well, what contributes to that too is that enough people are not standing.
Mm,
Because if six people stand opposed to 600 people, who you
right.
think you're going to listen to?
Well, so why do you think more people aren't standing then?
Part of it is they're not motivated to stand. They are
Mm,
not inspired to stand. Part of
mhm,
it, part of it too is like they are not, they don't know their rights. They are
mhm,
not educated on the things of substance that they need to be educated on.
mhm,
And a lot of them, they just have to cut through that fear barrier
mm,
because it is your right to stand.
mhm.
They can send in the RSS a million times to
Right,
create that negative peace.
right.
But if you want positive peace is when you obtain justice.
That's right. You know, John Lewis, Senator Congressman John Lewis of Georgia, he wrote a book and he had an idea called Good Trouble. You can get into
Yes,
trouble. It's okay to get into trouble if you're getting into trouble on the side of justice and what is right. It is quite okay.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what they call you, what they think about you, or what have you. But you have no. I personally have no apologies. I call it what it
None.
is, and I am not going to give to criminals who do not deserve my respect any form of
Exactly.
apologies and
Mhm,
niceties. I
mhm.
am done with that. If
Because
you
how
if
can
you
you,
do
why would
nonsense,
you
I will tell you do
apologize?
nonsense.
I mean, why would you apologize for somebody tearing down your mountain? Why would you have to be the one to
Exactly.
apologize for someone destroying a river that is where people have bathed and washed their clothes? And why would you apologize when the government comes in and does these things without even having a meeting with you? Who has to apologize? Cannot be you. Cannot
No,
be you.
no. You
So
know,
Marvin
and not
said,
just, not just tearing down the mountains. It's
uh,
like you're actually poisoning me because you're poisoning my water.
and the
A
soil.
leader who poisons my water,
Yeah.
a leader who poisons my water needs to be beaten out of office.
You think so?
Yes, I do.
Well,
And I,
Marvin
you know,
says,
and I'm done with
Marvin's got a
niceties.
solution.
And I'm not apologizing.
Marvin has a solution. Marvin says, and he suggests, and this is a pretty gold stock politics hour and a half, or 15 minutes. Women need to also put pressure on the men. Ask more of the men. Boycott the men. You know, there have been civilizations, there have been times in life where women have done that, you know, where when their men would not listen and when the men became too lopsided and leaning towards injustice, they boycotted them. They refused, the wives refused to even sleep with their husbands if they did not do something about it. Do you think all women have that kind of mettle? You think all women um, mentally are at a place where they could, where they even feel like they're power, they have enough power to do this, or wanting energy?
Well, when your back is against the wall, you will do what you have to do. Because sometimes you have to put your 2 feet in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and until your 2 feet are in the water, you're not going to know that you can swim. The
Yeah.
only time you can swim is when you put your 2 feet in the water, when you reach rock bottom. When
Mm-hmm.
you reach that bottom, then when you reach the bottom, then
You
you
can come
come
back
up
up.
above surface.
I was
And
thinking this morning, have we not yet hit our rock bottom as a culture, as a country, as a community? Because we're very lopsided towards the negative right now, and in my view, and in your view, it seems tonight, and in many people's view that I speak with, I think even the people who support the party, they I have yet to hear them say, "Oh, we're just great." They come back and they'll say, "Oh, stop, why are you talking bad about the country, why are you talking bad about, you always have something negative to say." But they're not saying that things are so great.
I've always known that, and mm, I say that to my kids. If you reach a situation where we live in a country where there's a lot of kidnappings and
Mm,
stuff like that, we all know that if your kidnapper succeeds in taking you from point A
to a second location.
to the second location,
Mhm.
you might not live.
That's right.
You ensure you fight. And
Mhm.
if you have to die at point A, you die at
that's
point A.
that's a good
But
way
you're
to
not going
go.
to get killed at point B.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
that is my motto.
But you know what, though? A lot of people, which is what Kenrick is saying here, fear. A lot of people go to the second location because they're so afraid. They think, if I just go along to get along, this person is going to be nice to me. If I just smile, if I just fawn, this person is going to be nice. They're going to stop hurting me because they should be hearing me scream. So fear causes a lot of people not to stand. What do you say to people, especially all women, who are in that space, who are distraught? Many people so distraught, they will not use their names to say they want the government to change.
You know what I do? I read books that can motivate me. I
Yeah,
don't read fiction. I read books that motivate me.
yeah.
I I did not come from a family of where I learned intimidation.
Mm,
I always learned how to. I always knew that we had to stand up for our rights because I was taught so from
mm-hmm,
very early. Whenever my dad would call us, and we could not go to my dad with our heads, you know, looking on
wow,
the ground. He would
right.
ask, "What are you looking for? What are you looking for?
What did you put on the ground?
Did you lose something? Did you lose something?" He said, "The next time you come in front of me like that, I will beat you."
You're looking for something if you do that. Mm.
Yeah, he said, "What are you? I'm coming in front of me checking your toes. You don't know how many toes you have." That is the father I grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
and he always told us when we walk into a room or hall, even we are late, even we are the last person to walk with confidence. Put your shoulders up and walk with your head up. Walk like
Mm-hmm.
you know where you're going.
Yeah,
Do not walk like a what shall I do? And if you don't agree with something, make it abundantly clear.
yeah.
Let your yes be yes and your no
And
be
you know
no.
we know. Hmm.
That is the home I was brought up in.
Yes.
But speak for your rights and do not apologize. Do not apologize for your rights. So
Mm-hmm.
I was born that way
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to die that way. I don't know about the rest of the women who are cowering and who are fearful and who are what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I am not like that. So sometimes you just have to look at, if that person can do it. Sometimes, actions are contagious. You look
Right.
at how somebody do things. You read books that can motivate you. You look at movies that can inspire you. You look
Mhm.
at, if that person can do it, I can do
I
it.
can do it too.
I can do it too. You take ideas from certain things, certain
So
circumstances.
we have to educate ourselves and strengthen ourselves. That piece right here of agency, as in take responsibility. Take responsibility. We have to take responsibility. We have to take more responsibility, as opposed to saying, "Oh, all of these things are just happening to me. What can I do? Oh, poor me, poor
Yes,
Molly, willy, 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 willy." Yes, yeah.
and I always say it's a lot of the home where a person stems from has a lot
Hmm.
to do with it,
I
and
agree.
that is why it is important for parents to raise strong children,
Hmm.
teach them the values, teach them how to stand up, how to love themselves, how to teach them independence,
Hmm.
teach them,
Teach them their worth, their
yes,
value. Hmm.
yes, their worth,
Hmm.
and teach them to do things for themselves.
Hmm.
And for very early, and one of the I always go back to my dad in conversation, because this is the man who just taught us. He taught us a lot.
He trained
Work
you.
for yourselves. Don't
Mhm.
depend on men. Don't do joint accounts with any man. Make sure you have your own money. All the men who left their wives and went to England on the banana boat and they never came back.
Never turn
From very
back.
early, we knew all about those things because of what dad would tell us about those things.
Hmm.
Yeah, he would tell us about those things. And a lot of those things I learned from my dad. I learned how to stand up because he was a bold man. He could stand up, he could speak for himself, and he was not intimidated. There's
Hmm.
nothing you could tell that man to intimidate that man. And I would not trade that man for any other father than that man, because he taught me values, he taught me strength.
Yeah, yeah. That's how we used to be. That's all that I mean, we would sit right together. Everybody would sit and eat and you tell stories. One talk would bring one talk, and that's how you got trained. I'm not sure if we're training our families in a similar way. Maybe we're more disjointed these days. Maybe we're more disjointed, but we're missing some parts and we need to put them back on. Yeah. So Kenrick says, uh, as we were talking about, a lot of supporters who of the party, I think their identities have fused with the political organization to where they believe they are the organization, right? So it is very painful for a lot of them to hear different thoughts and ideas. And so even if they're not saying, "Oh, this life is so great. Look, see how good I have it. See how I'm living," right? You don't hear as much of that. In fact, as Kenrick says, actually, many of them are actually looking forward to leaving the island instead of saying it's great. It's just that once they leave, they turn back and they tell the people who are back there, "Oh, stop complaining." But they have escaped. They don't stay under the system. A lot of them have escaped, but they turn back and they come to vote for a week and they say, "You keep this system, but I'm going back. I've escaped."
One of the things that a lot of Dominicans are doing, and and I see it a lot in the people who are supporting labor. They tell you, I am a laborite. They are not a Dominican anymore, they're
Yeah.
laborites.
The identities are fused with the party now. Hmm.
You got to be darn stupid for you to tell anybody you're laborites or UWPites or freedomite. You're Dominican.
Hmm.
Don't come and tell me you're laborites
No.
or UWPites
What is that?
or
What is that?
IT.
That's
You're
a made up
Dominican.
thing.
You're
What is that?
Dominican first.
Hmm.
You're Dominican first.
Yes.
And I had to pull up a man, who has a business. He has a business. So we had he said, well, I'm a labor right.
Hmm.
I said, you're a labor right. I said, aren't you ashamed to call yourself a labor right
Hmm.
or any it at all?
Or any ite. Or any ite. What is that?
You are a Dominican.
Yeah.
You are a Dominican. That's who you are. I am not any height. I am a Dominican. And it's time we put ourselves as Dominican so first before we say that we are
Anything else.
a party of color. We following some color somewhere.
Anything
No.
else. Anything else.
And that's why you do not get, that's why these people can't push back against the wrongs because they're an height. So they
Mhm.
see nothing wrong with the party they support,
They defend
even
the
if it is
height
as wrong as
before
hell.
the group. They defend the height before the big group. And that is to everybody's loss. That's to everybody's loss. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is.
Amma says, nice to see me smiling tonight. Thank you, Amma. Yeah, that situation in my village is really heart wrenching. You know, it's heart wrenching because you realize it's a multifaceted problem and it's not going to go away by just telling them, behave, oh, sit down, oh, do this. That's not going to work. You know, we need systems in place to support our young people better than we have for the last 20 something and maybe
Yes.
longer, number of years. We need that. We need that.
Mhm.
Um, Amma is saying that when you were talking about your dad, that's how many of the homes were pride and ego, but in balance, where your confidence was built up, but they wouldn't let you just disrespect anybody. You knew
Mhm.
your worth. And she says, hearing your stories of your dad sounds like her granddad. Strong man.
Yes. Strong
Yeah.
men.
Yeah.
Strong men. And and that is why this man lived to the ripe old age of, call it, 2 months shy, 98,
That's right.
because he was a strong man.
Yes.
And it's a lot of people who can do better. I
Mm-hmm.
remember during the time they were doing, the campaigning and stuff like that. My father was 93, about he was 93 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And 93 years is already, and
You're in that centenarian bracket already.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So a few of them went to his home in Concord
Mm-hmm.
to campaign, and they came with a little bag of grocery. I don't know what was in the bag,
Mm-hmm.
but they came to his house with a bag of grocery.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's not a person that's going to shame you.
Mm-hmm.
He will never just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't know what had come in. When you see he starts with that slow kind of, and he's like, he said, who are you again?
Mm-hmm.
And when they said who they were, he says, in my how many years, he gave his number of years,
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen you.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from? And then he said, so today you're coming to campaign to tell me that I should vote for the Labour Party. The Labour Party deserve my vote. You mean to tell me the number of years I am living? I don't have enough common sense or wisdom to see a party that is working for me and whom I should vote for.
Mm-hmm.
And after he finished, gave them his salvo, the bag they brought, they left it by the door. When they were leaving, he said, come, look, you forgot something here. They said, no, we brought it for you. He tell them, come and take it. I never told you all I was hungry. He
It's
let them leave.
pride. Mm-hmm.
So you mean to tell me that there are people who can't do that? You have to be living from the dust and crumbs of from politicians that you cannot
Politicians.
speak up. You have to be writing under different name. You have to be writing
Name.
under blocked profiles. No, I
Mm-hmm.
am writing under my name, Marcelline Edwards. I am not
Mm-hmm.
writing under any blocked profile. I am not writing under any anonymous name. I am
Apple
not saying
Apple
that.
62.
No, I am saying what I have to say, and it's me saying it. And when I write an article about anybody, I sign my name under it. It is
That's
coming
it.
from me.
I
I
have a
am the
right
one
to
saying
be
that.
here. Yeah.
Challenge me. Say what you want. Try to try to peel off the Teflon off my back, but I know
Yeah.
it is not coming up because it's Teflon that's there, and I don't care. I say what how I feel, and I say what I have to say.
And you have a
At
right
the
to
end
it.
of the day, we can all come together. We can all come in one amalgamation for our country because that is what we are. That is what our national anthem speak of.
Mm-hmm.
Our country. When you listen to our national anthem, when you listen to our pledge, then that is who we are. We should be for country first. We should not see our country falling apart and we are supporting one man who has plundered the country and too filthy rich that even if he were to live another lifetime, he would still have money.
Money left over.
And we are concerned about this one man who told us that he has insurance for himself and his children. What about you? And this is who
He
we are.
actually also promised that he was going to leave by April 30th of this year. That date has come and gone.
Well, he
I feel
knows a
confused
promise.
about that.
He knows a promise is always a comfort to a fool. So that is how he treats Dominicans. So he can make all those empty promises there because he knows that is comfort.
I
You know,
guess
he
I guess
only
I guess a synonym for promise in this regard might be a lie, because if I know I'm not going to do a thing, why am I saying I'm going to do a thing? Yeah.
because I think when this man goes home, he just and he kicks off his shoes. He sits in his lazy boy's chair and he just have a good laugh at the number of lies and the amount of Kione Dominicans. He just takes off his shoes and he just goes into that laughing disorder. Laugh at the amount of lies and the amount of
You think he probably laughs at how many people allowed him to get away with as
to
much? And
fool them. Yes, he does. He just laughs and said,
that should be
"Look, some
quite an
stupid
interesting
people."
evening.
Huh?
That should make for an interesting and fun evening.
Yes, I think that is how he gets his. That's how it creates some form of some form of socializing for him. Just sits on his on his whiskey and or his whatever he drinks, and well, he said he does not drink alcohol, but whatever he
That's a good
drinks
thing.
or his sangria or whatever he drinks, he just sips on that and say, "Yes, I fool about a dozen more people today. I fool a dozen more people today."
That's funny. Oh, that's funny.
Because I can understand that a man is like that. Like he just lives his life to he probably even documents the number of people he just fool every day. He brings them to his office and tell them lies, and then he turns his back. He's like, he just say, "I don't want mister."
You think so?
Yes, I just feel that's what he does. I don't worry, mister. Because because he looks like a worthless person, a person like that to just do things like that.
Sorry. Well, Kendrick says we all, all the strong men we have in Dominica right now, and this is coming from a strong man. Um, I guess from his observation, a lot of our men, as we talk about women and how can we resolve this quagmire, really. A lot of men seem to be bending the knee, um, and they're very scared to lose what they've been promised or have been offered. What is your experience when it comes to that? What are your thoughts on that?
Our men need to be men. And I don't know who raised them, but I know there are women in Dominica with more masculine fortitude than some of our men. You made one man emasculate you like that. So, with that emasculation, you will lose your family, you will lose your children, you will lose your home, you will lose even your life.
Mm.
You will lose your life. You have to stand for something, else you will fall for nothing. You have to be leaders. That is your rightful place. A lot of our men like to call themselves kings, and they like to call themselves the head of the home. And sometimes when I look at a lot of them, they can only beat down on women.
Mm.
You have to stand and take your rightful place, because
Of leadership.
this man is not your boss.
Mm-hmm,
This
mm-hmm,
man, you are paying him to work for you. It's not the other way round.
mm-hmm.
It's not the other way round. And
So
until we understand that,
that protector energy, you know, it does seem or feel for many people to be lacking. And I think a lot of people are feeling very exposed and vulnerable. Hence the reason they're calling themselves Apple 62 and, you know, Redbird 44 is calling for the prime minister to leave, but they dare not say, I am Sally Jones.
and all they have to do is muster the energy to
Mm-hmm.
talk. Just open your mouth and just open your mouth for once and start speaking up. Start talking about the things that are affecting you, because the things that are affecting you, nobody should sandwich you down in a tin, lock you down in a tin that you cannot even talk about what is affecting you. For Christ's sake, it is affecting you, it is affecting
Mm-hmm.
your children. You wait until the pressure cooker blows off the pot.
Mm.
It
You
is
know,
affecting you. Speak up.
Amma is reminding us of one of our uh, nation songs, patriotic songs. Let's build a nation solid, safe, and true from Capuchin in on to Kashaku. And it goes down, da 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 da. Yeah. I
And
wonder
Amma
if
is
we
and
live by
Amma
this
is
anymore.
right. Amma is right. That is what all opposition need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's build a nation solid, safe, and true. Let's bring our voices together. Let's come together. Let us come together as a people. Let us build. That is how we can build.
Mm-hmm.
Let us coalesce around each other's ideas,
Mm-hmm.
around each other ideas. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about, I have a plan and your plan is not good. We all have something to offer. Let's take
That
little
right
in
there.
steps.
That right there. Can you say that again? Because I have a sense that one of the reasons there's so much fracture among the parties, because there are several in Dominica that are offering themselves up to be the government, but in and of themselves, they know they're not going to win. They don't have enough support. And many Dominicans have suggested you all come together, coalesce, grow the movement, come together. I mean, can you share more about that? Because that does not seem to be yet. Uh, it doesn't seem like it's got a lot of traction. That idea. It seems to be very popular among the people, but I think a lot of the groups, the opposition groups, they haven't caught the vibe.
I don't know why they haven't caught the vibe, but I think to me, what I see is the power struggle.
Hmm. In
And
what way?
yes, when there's power struggle, we cannot wholeheartedly say we are fighting for country. Because when there's power struggle, it means that our own personal needs are above the needs of the country and its people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For
Yes.
sure, for sure. And that's I think that's an area of healing that our politicians need to explore. I strongly suggest that that's an area of healing that our politicians need to explore about themselves, because that's a big miss. A lot of people will say, well, not a lot, a few people, unless when they're using social media, will say things like the election is not being fought on social media. But social media gives you a wonderful read for free of the temperature of where people's heads are. And I don't know that the people in the leadership positions of the opposition groups are utilizing that kind of thermometer as well as they ought to. I see the leading party doing it very well. So they will listen to something like, I saw it right before Thanksgiving, where it's been forever since they did a do something Saturday, which they did last election in response to the opposition saying, do nothing Saturday. We are boycotting, right? So it had been years before they had done something. But I saw a few people post that, and that post got a lot of traction. Within a week, I saw them do something Saturday. No, I haven't seen another one, but they definitely respond. So I'm not sure why the opposition is so slow to catch that vibe, because that is overwhelmingly Dominicans' desire.
And another thing, Margaret, maybe they should have continued that do nothing because it gave the government, reasons to do something.
True.
So they should do nothing. They should organize the do nothing campaign for the whole month. Let them go. Let them work, because that's the only time they work.
Yeah.
They have to, if you come with the negative, then they come with the
They
positive.
come with the,
The positive, then they
they
come with
come
the
with the
negative,
negative. Yeah.
and that is how they work.
Very reactive. The
Very
vision's
reactive.
not there. They're reactive. They read the temperature, they listen to
Yes.
what people are saying, and they do something just to block the hole. But they're not building with foresight, and bringing the people along with what it is they're building. Because how can you be building an airport and majority of your young men are unemployed and they're not involved in that project? It doesn't make sense. Yeah. How can you
You know
be?
what I mean? And it's a lot of work. Look at the extension. It's a wide expanse of, and then you don't have our young men doing nothing.
Mhm.
The other day I listened to the minister of housing when she spoke about the number of houses that were built for
For
Dominicans,
people and given
all
to
by
people.
all by foreign companies, all
Mhm.
by foreign
They're
companies.
not
Not
say, they're
one,
not
not one Dominican contractor.
in a country full of masons and builders. Like, who does that?
And
And who celebrates that?
it's not just a country full of masons and builders. A country where the masons and the building contractors built the structures of the country
And that have lasted.
that have lasted until this time.
Yeah.
You
So
and
they're
you
not,
really,
it's just crazy to me, the logic that even many people are using to gauge and say, well, oh, this is so great. Yeah, Jane got a house. But do you not see how much money left the country?
but Jane got a house, but Jane does not have health care. So as soon as Jane turned around in the house, Jane died. And then they turned around and they took the house from Jane's children because they understood that one or two children of Jane were not supporting the regime.
And they
So
had
what
not given Jane legal ownership of the
so
house.
what did Jane benefit?
Jane got a house to live in, a temporary home, right? A roof over her head, yes, but no legacy, no wealth to transfer to her children. It's the death of a generation. It's infuriating. It is very ugly. It's very dark. It's insane. It's very ugly.
But you know what the Jains should do? The Jains, the modern Jains inside of those houses, they
Mhm.
should all realize that they are just renting.
They,
It's just like renting an apartment.
yeah,
If you're renting an apartment, even if you die inside of the apartment or you die inside of at the hospital, you don't your children don't get to inherit the
it's not
people's property.
yours.
It's not yours, c'est pas ça. You
It's
have
not
to
yours.
leave. You have to leave at some point. Your kids have to leave at some point. So it's time the people understand that they do not own those houses, and those houses that they're giving you are just vote entrapment boxes to keep you in perpetual poverty. It's not helping you.
Because even going through the paces of building your own small house is you growing. It's growth for you. You're fighting against
Exactly.
life. You're fighting to save a little extra money. You yourself might be putting the energy forth to build your house. You're creating. To sit and just receive, I don't understand why our people won't, spend more time understanding that. And I do feel a lot of resistance from our people when we're trying to offer the information. You could be doing so much better for yourself and for your grandchildren. Please just look at what your granddad did. Your granddad built a house for grandma. You maybe grew up in it in your early years. Yeah, probably it fell apart by the time you became an adult. So, yes, no, you need a new house. But really, you ought to be fighting against life, battling with life to get your own.
And besides, where is your legacy? What is your history? What is your experience? What are you going to tell your grandchildren? What are
Mhm,
you going to say to them? That you
mhm,
never worked? You like the wishing man that who sat on the bench that the prime minister gave a house to,
mhm.
and then you. What are you going to say to your children? Oh, your father did not build a house for you, and that is why you have no inheritance. How can we grow a country or society without inheritance? What
And
is the
so and so
inheritance?
and so their kids and grandkids are going to be starting behind Duvadeye. You understand? They don't get a start. They don't have a start in life.
Yes, and then even the Bible, we said we came from a Christian country, but even the Bible tells you parents have to leave an inheritance for their children so that their lives can be better.
Yeah.
So have we not seen that in the Bible that we like to talk about?
And we used to, our parents lived by that. So many of the grandkids were raised in the homes of the grandparents. And we have decided to trade it in for temporary logement, temporary lodging. So I mean, it's time for us to wake up and really look at these things. And gratitude is okay. It's great to say, okay, thank you for this temporary home, but I need to be figuring out how to build my own.
I tell you, and okay, you have not built a home, you have not figured out how to build a home, you have not built a home, you waited on the prime minister to give you a house and what have you. You really believe that you're going to get a wife is going a woman is going to commit to you to raise a family with you, to bring children in, no, it's time our men stand up like men. It's time they stand up and reclaim their places in society,
And they
within
used
the
to do that
family.
very well before this
Yes, yes, they used to do that very well.
situation. Yeah.
They used to do that very well. And there's a saying that who feeds you controls you.
Hmm.
How you gonna make a man control, where you go, where you sleep, where you walk? You can't even talk. They're
Who you
ready to
talk
throw you
to?
out of the house. They will tell you what all your freedom is gone, your liberty is gone, your democracy is gone. They tell you what to play inside of the house. They
Hmm.
tell you what you can listen to and what you cannot listen to.
Which
And people
neighbors you can
are
talk
taking
to?
that nonsense.
Hmm. Kenrick says politicians So we're dealing with politicians right now versus leaders, because leaders lift people up. They don't push them down. They leave them better than how they met them. Yeah. Leaders unite people. Yeah. True leaders do not rule by disunity. So maybe as we keep talking about this, people remember. Says that's why she doesn't support anyone. It's hard for her to just support anyone. She says, maybe I need to call the politicians. I have offered my service to any Dominican who wants it. Okay. They need to heal from, especially United Workers Party, that's been at the receiving end of a lot of this psychological brutality. It's been psychological brutality for 20 something years. They've been wounded by this, and they need to, one experience of doing, say, like group activities or healing exercise is not enough. They need more. Yeah, the fact what happened in the last couple of weeks, where we're feeling their pain in public, suggests to me that they need to keep doing some more of that work, and I hope they do, because as you said, when they do it like that, people get hurt, supporters get hurt, other Dominicans who want to support them get hurt. So they have to understand how powerful they are. They're very powerful. Yeah, they're very powerful. They're not regular. They're very powerful, and they have to work from that power. Yeah.
And of course, and a lot of times I think because of our because of our agendas, if we are not
Mhm.
genuine, a lot of times we bring certain things onto ourselves, and we have to start looking at ourselves. Let us do some introspection. Let us see where we go wrong. let
Mhm.
us see let us see if my behavior caused a certain reaction. And if we cannot look at it in those ways, then I don't know what else we can look at. But the behavior of some people, sometimes you get to understand why they get treated like that.
Mhm. Amma was saying what we have going online is diaspora temperature, and I think I hear what you're saying with that, Amma. There's a different temperature on the ground. Um, what I felt when I was home was a kind of a resignation to things just being as they are, an exhaustion, tiredness, fatigue, but helplessness, and going along to get along, right? Diaspora, we're out of the. Imagine if you're feeling so much of the fury and the fire to the point where you're calling yourself Apple 66. This is my name, my made up name, but I'm just talking about the people who, they come up with other names so they can talk politics. A lot of people are doing it outside of the country still, you know but at least when you're outside of the country, you're not impacted on a day-to-day basis by somebody who can say you're not going to get this job, you were in here, I'm going to make it miserable for you, you're not going to get this loan, yada 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 yada. So the people on the ground have a different temperature, generally speaking. So I agree with Amma here, but a lot of them are exhausted, and they are looking for uh, enough motivation and inspiration. And I completely believe that the fractured opposition forces, this is where they need to step up their game and put the people first and do a demonstration of that to inspire the people on the ground. Yeah.
You cannot be in two places at the same time. I always maintain that you can't be in two places at the same time. And a
Hmm.
lot of times, when you look at what is going on the ground in Dominica, they
Hmm.
create their own temperature, They are the very same people who will complain about certain things, but they will not stand up for themselves, not in a protest, in nothing. You will
Mm,
not see them anywhere. They go about their merry way doing their own business, whereas they have a right. You are in the fire. You
mm.
are in the fire. You get up like you are in the fire. You cannot expect me to come and stand for you when you refuse to stand for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not about not being able to stand for themselves. A lot of them refuse to stand for themselves.
That is a psychological process, though. That's a burnout. That's a because it's a psychological process that's happened. You want to look at an organization, look at the UWP, because they're the ones that took the brunt of it. See how it tore them apart, that kind of psychological pressure. And they were a group, they were an organization.
You think that's what tore them apart?
That's a big part of what tore them apart. That's a big part of what tore them apart. No, they're a group. They're a group. Usually, you would expect a group to be stronger. Much as for a little person on the street who's just trying to earn, according to this housing survey, $500 a month. $500 a month. You're in hell. You're in hell. Day in, day out, month in, month out. That's exhausting. That's an exhausting way to live mentally. So, as a stress response, people can fight, they can run away, escape, leave the country, which many people have done. They can fight as Apple 66, yeah, or they can freeze, which is what many people have done, or they can faint. Or pil mundum nikamo. They've lost, they don't even care.
Hmm.
All right. And we have to acknowledge all of these weird, just scores of people just dying as part of that stress response.
Well, the aspect of the people who are dying too. This is people are dying at an alarming rate, especially in the hospital. And it seems like no one can go to the hospital and come back out with a successful story. If
Mhm.
and I don't know what is going on in the hospital, but I see now that Dominica has teamed up with the Chinese to do their, to do their, is it training or what have you? And I am kind of asking, are we sold out to China? Is Dominica annexed to China? I know we are seas away, but are we really? Do we still own Dominica?
At this point, I don't know really, because I find that our flag is too often married to that flag, as in they seem to pop up jointly very often and against the will of the people. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't recall Dominicans asking for that.
You can be twinning our flag to China, uh,
Mhm.
like, like we have become, a territory of China. And,
Against the people's will, because
you
again,
know,
nobody's voted for that.
well, we are not aware, just like how this man takes decisions and, and just disrespect us all the time, no discussion, no,
As in the
nothing.
mining of the mountains, as in
Yes,
the
like
Wash and
what they
Concord
did
River.
in the wash. And I don't understand. I don't understand how this can happen. And then we have how many ministers in office? 18 ministers in office?
Can you
What
believe
are they
this?
saying? What are they saying? Aren't you none of them? So any of them can look at them, the prime minister. Any one person can look at the prime minister and say, "No, sir, I don't agree to that. This is not. I have to represent my community,
Have you
and
heard of that?
that does not represent the needs of my community."
Have you heard of that happening where they're expressing different thoughts?
But that is what the people have to look at. When a candidate comes before you asking you for your vote, we are not voting for president. We are voting for the parliamentarians. The reason you send the the parliamentary representative, you look at the parliamentary representative and you decide to give him your vote,
Mm-hmm.
for him to represent your voice, to
Mm.
represent your concerns, represent your needs. And if
So,
he's not doing that, then he's not representing the constituency. He's not representing your needs. He's not representing you.
so that's something I think then our ministers need to remember.
And our people have to remember that
Yeah.
too. Because if a candidate came, the last candidate came, I voted you in, and that is the kind of representation you gave me, then
Mhm.
there's no reason I should vote you, another candidate,
Another time.
not or any other candidate coming under that same banner.
Exactly.
How do you do that? The man is not representing you as a constituent. So there's no reason you should vote for somebody like that or government like that.
Well, it seems like the citizens need to continue to be educated, sensitized, reminded. Amma is saying that she's had to work very closely, more so than necessary, to keep the help she's been able to get, which was hard to get. So she's had to work very hard to motivate her farmers, and she says she doesn't even think they believe her when she says she's basically training them, right? So they can do this for themselves. And she doesn't expect them to stay with her forever. So it's almost people have gone into a space where they they they've forgotten that they can do these things on their own, and they need to be really doing it on their own versus having to be attached to some hand that is helping them or showing them. Or I mean, our dads didn't need that. They went and created, self-motivated, self-driven. But this new system has created this kind of response in a lot of people.
And another thing I see is a lot of people have become detached from the soil. They don't
Yes.
want to do any form of farming. They don't want to take their lives seriously and
Hmm.
reclaim their independence. That is how you get your independence. You go back to the soil.
For sure.
I was listening to a nurse
Hmm.
who Joan Smith, who worked with government for the past. She worked for 31 years with government,
Hmm.
and she left from working the ministries to wherever she left to do nursing. She does private nursing. She walked off her job as a nurse, as a specialized nurse, a nurse who had
Hmm.
studied in Jamaica. She walked off her job because she would have lost her house. She would have lost her home.
Hmm.
She would she could not feed her kids because the salary was too small. When she walked off the job, she, you know what she did? She went to plant vegetables, and she started selling her vegetables to the hotels and what have you. She made more money in her vegetables than being a nurse, being trained in Jamaica,
Wow.
working in the ICU unit,
Mm.
being being fluent in Spanish, translating for the doctors and the pathologists, the what have you,
Hmm.
because of the language barrier. She made more money going back to the soil to plant vegetables.
We have to see the power of that. We have to see the value in going back to the soil. That's where our wealth is. So Kenrick says the Christian mentality has actually, in my view, allowed many people to do that mental escaping, the flight, right? So they've gone to saying, Jesus, take the wheel for everything, right? Jesus is going to come rescue me. Let's pray about it. Oh, let's pray. Mother Mary, help us. But their own agency, they kind of put this, a lot of people have put that on the side. So their intuition, he says, to have an earthly inheritance is not as strong anymore as our grandpas and our dads. Because remember, our grandfathers were saying, we're going to leave something for our grandchildren to have, something physical. And they would tell us things like, don't sell the land, except if you're selling it to one of the family members or relatives, because they understood about wealth. That's why the uncles would come fight with you for more land. Yeah. So, not knowing that this is actually our salvation, because this is what opens the doors for you in life, your prosperity, your earthly inheritance. Why are the politicians fighting so hard to stay in power so they can keep taking or accessing all of your money? I mean, they're saving themselves right now. So, why will you not save yourself?
And we have not listened. It's proven we have not listened, eh? Because look at the rates our lands are being sold to foreigners. Look at the way we just agree we are being fooled. And I said again, this man, when he goes to his house, he sits in that lazy chair, laughing at the number of Dominicans he fooled. Look at the way he took the people's lands, private lands, and he put them in a in the projects, in some houses.
In apartments.
He boxed them in, so they have
Yeah.
no place to do backyard gardening, no place to plant a dasheen or a banana. Whereas these people had their private plots where they could all have their backyard gardening. They had plots where they could plant their plantains and their
Little thing of
cashew nuts,
bananas. Yeah.
to make their livelihood, to make their living. And he took that away from them, and he placed them in the boxes of perpetual poverty. And what was that meant to do? Was it meant to take away their independence from them so that they eat from his hands, so that he and gets empowered? He becomes the quasi dictator that he wants to be, to control the minds of the people, control how they eat, how they live, how they sleep, and even their movements.
Well, this is part of what you're saying, though. The people have to educate themselves. The people have to take responsibility at a certain point for their choices. They do.
Hmm.
If they want different results, they have to take responsibility for their choices. Amma was saying that some ministers have disagreed in cabinet, but allegedly they have suffered abuse when they have tried, and so others seeing that, I guess, have piped down and they go along to get along.
And
Yeah.
when we see that, we can make the comparison. This is something similar to what we see from our own president, Trump,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
something similar.
Yeah.
But again, it's the people. The people have to stand.
They do have to
You
stand.
have to stand.
They have to.
Because how beaten down can you get to claim that you are beaten down? You have low morale. Look at the people in Russia and China and
Hmm.
these places who have all you only known dictatorships, and
Hmm.
they're standing, they stand, and you talk about fear, and the people in Russia and those places standing, and
Hmm.
can the Dominic can they you mean the fear in Dominica is worse than the fear in Russia? It's worse than the fear in
No.
China?
Yeah, it's not. And
It's not.
imagine that that's who we became best buddies with, right?
Yes, Xi Jinping,
Anyway.
and this one from this place who ran recently from Syria, Bashar
Hmm.
al-Assad. Look
Hmm.
at the kind of people that we enamor,
Yeah.
our leadership enamor. Look
Yeah.
at look at so that just tells you. Look at where we have gone to Alba.
Yes.
We are you
We're
know
part of a
think of
repressive set
Alba.
of,
And then
yeah.
we talk about peaceful zone in the Caribbean, but
Hmm.
how peaceful are we? Is it that because you can use the RSS to keep the citizens of the Caribbean in bondage under the knees of the quasi dictatorships, because it's an
Across
old
the
red boys
Caribbean.
club in the Caribbean. So
You
we
know,
have
and
intact. We cannot break it.
this is where we're going to end tonight because our next conversation is about this quasi coalition of Caribbean governments that stealthily, it seems, acquired power, and they went into what many Caribbean people are watching now as cahoots, against the people. They didn't realize this was happening. The people didn't realize this was happening, and are moving in these quasi dictatorship styles and using their collective forces against each individual island. So I want to talk about this next conversation. We will be talking, we're broadening this conversation to CARICOM. Is it valid anymore? This OECS, there's something happening in the OECS among certain parties in the OECS that it's not for the people, by the people, because the people are not even aware that it's happening. So we're going to end on that note tonight. Marceline, I need a closing thought, a takeaway from tonight.
Dominicans, this is our country, and we have a beautiful country. It is worth fighting for. Remember our pledge. Remember our motto, Apre Body C'est la Terre. Remember how much the people before us, the Kalinagos, let us remember how much they fought to save Dominica. Let us remember how our black ancestors, how much they fought to save Dominica. They refused to be enslaved. They burned the plantations down. They ran to the hills. They had the presence of mind that they would not be enslaved, but they fought for their freedom. They burned the plantations down. They ran to the mountains just for them to be free. We have to embrace the freedom and the liberty and the sacrifices they made for us to have a place called home, Dominica. Dominica is ours. And Ophelia rightly said in the song, "Pa kite yo pa Dominic no." We need to stand up. We need to behave like we have a legitimate stake, and we are bona fide Dominicans. And we have a right. This is our country. And if we do not stand up, we will lose our country. If we do not assert our rights, then we cannot assert rights anywhere else, because we may be in other countries, but what we are doing in the other countries, there will come a time when we will want to go home, when we will want a place called home. Because
Exactly.
how we feel now, we might not feel like that in the next few years. You might want to go home. A lot of people say, "I bury me in my country. I wanna spend the last days of my fleeting breath in my country." This is what we have. This is the only place we have called home. This is the only place where we can't be banished from. We can live in the US for how long, but we see that citizenships are being
Yeah,
revoked. So we have to look at that and say the only
exactly.
citizenship that we have that cannot revoke is being a citizen of the Commonwealth of
That's right.
Dominica,
The
because
land of
our
your birth.
little spring
The
were
land of your
buried
birth.
there. That is where we were birthed.
Indeed.
That is ours. So
Indeed.
that is the reason we have to keep fighting. And I urge more women to join the conversation. Join the conversation and let us talk. Let us come together. Let all our opposition forces unite. Let us coalesce around a message, the same message, where we can remove our country from the clutches of slavery, because our country is going down, and we can only do so if we unite our strengths. If we unite, we come together as one people under one flag. Let us take back our country. Let us save our young people. In taking back our country, we get to save our young people. We get to give them a new hope, a new vision, where they can live and they can dream again, and we can do it. There's
Indeed.
nothing too difficult that we cannot do. And by the
Indeed.
grace of God, we can accomplish that. So, one love, my Dominican people. Let's keep fighting for ourselves and country. God bless us all as a people. And thank you, Margaret, for having me tonight again.
You're
May God
welcome.
bless you. May God give you the peace that you need and strengthen your community as they're going through that difficult moment.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And so I want to end tonight talking about Burnell and Andy, and just to put it into perspective that these boys, these boys are our babies, our babies. They are our babies. Yeah. And moments like this, I think, force us to pause and wrestle with the cost of violence, not just in their lives that were lost, but also in the reality that their futures have been erased. Their families have been changed forever. If you've been through grief, you understand this is not an easy process that their families have been thrown into. So I hope we hold each other closer, that we consider each other more. Again, that we consider each other more again, like we used to do it. That we speak their names. We speak their names. They're real. They're real. They're real. Speak their names with respect, regardless of their stories. Yeah. And that we let our grief move us forward towards remembering how to protect each other from birth till we leave this planet. Let our grief move us towards accountability, and let our grief push us towards healing the community, healing the community. And
Mm-hmm.
that starts with healing ourselves. That starts with healing ourselves. That starts with healing ourselves, taking responsibility for healing ourselves so that we can have that kind of healing impact on people who come into contact with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you, Marcelline, for coming to talk with me tonight. We will talk about the broader Caribbean in our next conversation. Amma, Ricky, Marvin, all the people who joined us tonight, and those who will come upon this program later on. Thank you all for listening, and we will talk another time. Okay?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Margaret.
Mhm.